In the first part of this video, we get to know one of Asia's renowned and well-respected footballers, Ji-sung Park. His story was an inspiration to many people, especially those who dream of being a footballer. Everyone saw his struggles and how challenging it was for him to be part of any team. As you all know, no team in Korea chose him to play for them. It seemed like his passion to play football would go to waste. But Park is such a lucky guy. Finally, after years of waiting for the perfect moment, he was chosen to play for the national team, and from there he rose to fame. The challenges he had to face didn't stop there. He managed to get up unscathed and invincible until he was invited to play football for a European team. Now, let's continue the remarkable story of Ji-sung Park, South Korea's exceptional and tireless athlete. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell button so you won't miss any of our videos. There was a bit of a rough patch, though, in Park's European journey. Fans weren't entirely sold on splurging a hefty sum on a Korean player midway through the season. And when Park needed surgery just 4 matches after joining, things turned downward. When he returned, he wasn't in the best shape, but instead of understanding his situation, fans jumped to conclusions and labeled him a subpar player. They all thought that he had nothing to offer for his team. He faced heavy criticism, with even his teammate Van Bommel publicly questioning his signing. He even condemned Park for his inability to speak Dutch, which isn't uncommon and unusual. The people there were just finding faults in Park, probably to make him leave the team. The media frenzy fueled fans to start booing him, reaching a peak where Hiddink only selected him for away games to shield him from the negativity. The situation got so tense that Park even considered returning to Korea. He might be a tough player, but sometimes people could be so harsh and rude. They didn't care if Park got hurt. As his father put it, when Ji-sung didn't perform well, people threw drinks at him, insulted him. He was very confused. That never happened here. Well, thank goodness he decided to stay, because by the time his 3rd season rolled around, Robin left for Chelsea. With Hiddink uncertain about what to do, he simply placed Park in Robin's position and hoped for the best. But Park exceeded everyone's expectations. Not only did he score in the playoffs to secure PSV a spot in the Champions League, but he also transformed the course of their league season, leading PSV to the title. This was despite the fact that at the start of the season, bookmakers had predicted a 3rd-place finish at best. After the match, Gattuso had nothing but praise for Park in an interview with a Japanese magazine. He openly acknowledged how challenging it was to face someone as resilient as Park. Surprisingly, even Van Bommel, who had previously contributed to turning some fans against Park with his critical statement 2 years earlier, publicly apologized for his actions. At that point, Park was likely past the negativity, especially since he had earned a nomination for UEFA Forward of the Year alongside football heavyweights like Ronaldinho Gaucho, Andriy Shevchenko, Samuel Eto'o, and Adriano, despite not playing as a typical forward. In an interesting twist, during a match against Lyon, a Manchester United scout was present to watch Michael Essien. However, the scout admitted that he couldn't focus because his attention was drawn to one player who was full of energy and moved like a cocker spaniel. Clear, that cocker spaniel was none other than Ji-sung Park. As the season came to a close, Park's agent approached him with the news that Sir Alex Ferguson was on the line, waiting to talk to him. Initially skeptical, given that only one East Asian player had ever been at United, Park answered the phone, recognized the Scottish accent, and realized it was indeed Ferguson. Despite Hiddink's efforts to persuade Park to stay at PSV, even tempting him with a move to Chelsea, Park had already made up his mind. A month later, he signed with United for a mere €7 million, a deal that would later be considered one of the greatest bargains in the history of the sport. While some experts dismissed the move as a mere marketing stunt, Park's new teammates quickly understood his true value. Paul Scholes, in particular, praised him as the toughest opponent he had ever faced. He said that Park was an unbelievable player. His full attention was on Paul, making sure that he wouldn't score, and Park delivered remarkably. In no time, the media's perception of Park underwent a complete shift. Transitioning into a more defensive role, his relentless work ethic and determination amazed everyone. He wasn't just Ji-sung Park anymore. Fans dubbed him 3 Lung Park, because they believed his stamina was so incredible that he must have an extra lung. United held Park in such high regard that a mere 3 months into his tenure, he was given the captain's armband for the first time, a truly remarkable achievement. Unfortunately, despite a successful first season, injuries resurfaced in the following season. By March, Park found himself sidelined again, requiring surgery and a lengthy 9-month recovery period. Initially, there were fears that the second surgery might have lasting effects on his knee, and that regaining his form would be a lengthy process. However, when United reached the Champions League quarter-finals, Sir Alex Ferguson recognized the need for Park. He called him up, and despite everything he had been through, Park delivered outstanding performances in both legs against Roma. Facing Barcelona in the semi-finals, Park emerged as a standout player, contending with the likes of Messi, Eto'o, Xavi, and Deco. He arguably earned the title of the man of the match in both home and away legs, significantly contributing to United's journey to the final. It was heartbreaking when Sir Alex Ferguson didn't even include him in the team sheet for the final. Park watched from the stands as United became champions of Europe. When asked about it later, Park, true to form, remained composed and stated that his team won, so he was happy. He admitted to feeling frustrated for not playing, but he knew that there would be other opportunities for him to show his skills. Many questioned Sir Alex's decision not to include Park, but he did explain the reason in his autobiography. He wrote, "The one thing about the 2008 final that I regret to this day was leaving Park completely out of the squad after he had played such a great role in getting us there. In reality, Park was right. Other opportunities would come his way." Just a year later, he seized his chance. After a stellar performance in the semi-finals against Arsenal, where he not only scored, but played an important role in what many consider the greatest counterattack of all time, he earned a spot in the starting 11 for the final against Barcelona. Unfortunately, that time around, victory wasn't in the cards, and United lost. Football enthusiasts only hoped that the 4 trophies he won that season helped alleviate Park's disappointment. Regardless, even in the following season when Park struggled for playing time, he remained the first name on the list for every significant game. Sir Alex understood how crucial he could be against the best of the best. In a standout performance against AC Milan, Park perhaps played the greatest game of his career. Sir Alex, not one to typically assign bodyguards to players, took a different approach that day. Pirlo, at the peak of his powers, was a formidable force. Before the match, Sir Alex looked at Park and instructed him that his job was to guard Pirlo's every move. As recalled by Rooney, back then, Pirlo was averaging 110 passes per game. 60 to 70 of them were forward passes, the type that can really hurt you. So Fergie told him, "He cannot be allowed that pass. You cannot be 1 yard or 1 second late." I think Pirlo might have made 40 passes at most that game, and 95% of them were backward. Park won the duel. Park's performance against Pirlo that night was nothing short of extraordinary. Not only did he limit Pirlo to just 21 passes, a testament to his defensive prowess, but he also managed to contribute offensively by scoring a goal. Pirlo, acknowledging Park's exceptional dedication to the task, even mentioned it years later in his autobiography, stating, "They unleashed Park to shadow me. They programmed him to stop me. His devotion to the task was almost touching. Even though he was a famous player, he had no issue consenting to be used as a guard dog." Despite being just 29 at that point, Park had already solidified his reputation as a player capable of making a significant impact on both ends of the pitch. As the seasons passed, injuries continued to plague Park, striking him for the 3rd time. Despite the challenges, he pushed himself relentlessly for one final chance at a Champions League final. His contributions with 2 assists in the group stage propelled United forward. Even after missing the last 16 due to injury, he rallied to score against Chelsea, driving United into the semis. And after defeating Ralf Rangnick's Schalke, Park once again found himself in the final. But Barcelona stood in their way once more, dashing their hopes of securing the trophy. Years later, reflecting on that final, Sir Alex acknowledged, "Ji-sung Park. That's where I lost that final at Wembley. At halftime, I should have put Park man-marking Messi. That was a mistake. If I had put Park on Messi, I think we would have beaten them. I really do. Unfortunately, it would be their last opportunity. In the following season, Park continued to grapple with injuries. United ended the season without a trophy, notably losing the league title to City in the final match. And Park bid farewell to United, never to play for them again. The next season, he embarked on a new journey with QPR, immediately taking on the role of captain. But even his leadership couldn't salvage a challenging season for the club, which managed only 4 wins. Eventually, Park was loaned to PSV after QPR's relegation. At the age of 33, he announced his retirement, citing persistent knee injuries as the reason. On that day, the football world honored this diminutive South Korean who had reached 3 Champions League finals, won 19 trophies, and even secured a 4th-place finish at a World Cup. He stood as the most successful East Asian player of all time. And that's the story of one of the greatest footballers of all time, Ji-sung Park. What do you think of him? Would you consider him one of the greatest? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification button to stay updated on new videos.